Phil Pustiowski here. I'm so glad you have made it this far through this set of videos. Hopefully you've watched the previous ones, from what's going to happen in the near future of real estate to motivated sellers to signing up the deal, all the way to knowing which one is a money maker and a time waster, and obviously having the right paperwork so you secure your profits in the deal. Okay, we're going to talk about a subject that's really specific, and it only really pertains to short sales and foreclosures. But like I said before on the very first video, right now for the next 2 years, that's where most of the money's being made. Okay, let's talk about the foundation of short sales and foreclosures. It's really, a lot of people have overcomplicated this subject. It's so simple. Let me show you how simple it is. Okay, here's the example. You signed up the deal, you've run it past a coach, it is a money maker, it's a home run. Let's say the person owes $500K, right? Then let's say the value is $400K. Sound familiar? It's happening all over this country right now. That means that there is a negative, you like the colors? There is a negative $100,000 in equity. This is a short sale. And if the lender took the home back through the foreclosure process, it'd be a foreclosure. But the point is, the value of the home is $400,000. Now, this concept of negotiating a short sale or getting a deal with a bank really boils down to one thing. Two things. First, what do they think the value is? What does the bank think the value is? I'm taking my time here, it's important. Does that make sense, this question? The value may be $400,000. That may be what it sells for, but the real question is, what does the bank think the value is? Now, how do they determine that? It's real simple. They either hire an appraiser, which right now, that's an interesting subject. The Association of Appraisers is trying to argue that all banks should only use appraisers, obviously. It's like asking the barber if you need a haircut, right? And then there's also something called a BPO. So I'm going to put down appraisal, and I'm going to put down or BPO. What's a BPO? That's a broker's price opinion. So this is done with an agent. This is done with an appraiser. Either way, and sometimes banks will do both, what they're going to do is they're going to figure out what the value is based on this report. And sometimes they do an internal report, like they'll go on Zillow.com or they'll go to one of those free sites just to get a quick and dirty look at what the value is. So this is the first part. So if a bank is going to accept less than their full payoff, they're going to do a short sale, or it's a foreclosure, they already own the property, the first thing they're going to ask themselves is, what is the value? That make sense? Okay. Second thing is, they're going to have a percentage of what they will approve. And the percentage is a percentage of what they think the value is. That's all there is to it. That's it. There's no more complication than that. Isn't that exciting? Isn't it nice to know how elegant and simple the whole short sale and foreclosure negotiating game is? There is no negotiating. And anybody who disagrees with me, maybe 1% of the time you can negotiate a little bit below their percentage. It's so rare, it's almost negligible to talk about. The key is, they're going to think there's a certain value, and then they're going to take a percentage of that. So let me give you a more detailed example of that. Okay, so if we go back to this example here, we're going to say that the bank thinks the value is $350. Why? Why does the bank sometimes undervalue? Well, it depends on a lot of different factors. But let's just say, for the sake of this example, that they value it at $350 when it really could sell for $400. Does that happen? Absolutely, all the time. Okay, so that's the value. And let's say we're dealing, every lender's different, by the way, and they change this. So as of this recording, I'm going to give you Citi mortgage example. Citi does 84%. That's what has to go into their pocket. They've got to get 84% into their pocket. That's as of today. Again, this changes. This percentage is going to change on a weekly, monthly basis. Every lender's different. We have a database that keeps track of all this. We're the only ones in the country that have it. But that's the foundation of short sales and foreclosures. So whether it's a short sale or a foreclosure, Citi takes 84% of what they think the value is. So if they take 84% of 350, where is my calculator? Oh. My phone's a calculator. And if you've got a calculator right now, then you can be doing it at the same time. I'm going to take 84% of 350,000 here. 294,000. Okay. So 294,000. That's what has to go into their pocket. So all real estate commissions go on top of that. All closing costs, they have to get $294,000 in their pocket in this example. Now, if the house will sell for $400,000, do you see that spread? Do you see how money's made? Right there. Now, is it worth it to the bank? Well, yes, it is. Because if they were to take it to foreclosure, they think they're going to lose more than 84% if we're talking about a short sale. And if it's a foreclosure, they know that there's a certain percentage which they'll accept and a certain percentage which is just going to not work for them. So this is worth it to them. This is a good deal for them if they can have that much in their pocket on this deal. That's all there is to short sales and foreclosures when it comes to negotiating. There is no other negotiating whatsoever. There really isn't. The only negotiating is if they're smart enough to get you to give more than 84%, which happens. So if you don't know these percentages, you're up creek without a paddle. I mean, how can you be in this business without knowing the percentages of each major lender? And by the way, they're not going to tell you. I can assure you that. They're not in the business of telling you the percentages. So how do we know them? We know them because we're closing deals all the time all across the country, an entire nation of students. We know what these lenders are approving and what they're not approving. And when they go up or down, we know that as well. Does that make sense? The only way you learn is when you close deals. You can't get to this percentage unless you're closing deals. So you see how our system is so much different than the rest of the industry. Because what we have available is the most important piece of information for short sales and foreclosures, and we're the only ones that have it. How about it? Okay, so that is what you need to know about negotiating short sales and foreclosures. When you know, if you were asking yourself the question, how do you know what the bank thinks the value is? They usually tell you. And there's a couple different scripts and ways you can ask the question to get the answer. Almost 99% of the time, you can get this answer without a problem. They'll tell you how much they think the value is, or in a roundabout way, and there's some details to that, but this part they'll never tell you. You have to learn that the hard way, which we've already done that for you. All right, great. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. We got a little technical here. This is about short sales and foreclosures, not so much related to wholesale, subject to lease purchases, fix and flips, things like that. But this is what's going on right now in the marketplace. More than 50% of all transactions are either short sale or foreclosure. So if you don't know this game, you're not even really in the game. All right, thanks so much for being with me.